Good afternoon, everyone, and we are going to continue our afternoon here with the Commit to Health training. So you are here with me, Roxanne Sutton. I am NRPA's Communications Manager, and with me is Katrina Belt, our Senior Marketing and Communications Specialist. And today we are going to talk to you about marketing Commit to Health. You're doing all of this amazing work, and now you need to get it out there. So we're really just going to go over some simple tools and ideas for promoting your programs as well as your involvement in Commit to Health. So what are we marketing? So we're marketing your programs, which you're probably already doing, and you probably already have some really great ways of doing that. And then we're also marketing your involvement in Commit to Health specifically. So, you are probably already working with your partners, local schools, local businesses, the press to get the word out about your programs. But it never hurts to revisit how you do that, and hopefully you'll get some ideas from today's session. And then secondly, we want to focus on marketing your involvement in Commit to Health because really this is kind of unique. And you want your community members and your stakeholders to know that you have made this commitment and that you are really focused on creating a healthier environment for youth in your community. Not to mention that if you're marketing one, you're probably also marketing the other. So we'll start with one of the simple things you can do, which is hashtags. So we do use hashtag Commit to Health on everything relating to this campaign. And we want you guys to do the same. Using the hashtag helps tie our message together, and it also helps us do some metrics as well, so we can see, kind of the overall impact over time, how many times these things have been shared, and we can also build stories from them and create other content. And it also allows us to see what you're doing. So anytime you post something to Twitter or Instagram using hashtag Commit to Health, especially if you tag us in those posts, you will be able to see it and then share it and amplify your message. And for those of you, I know that Allison shared this beforehand, but you should have gotten this nice little cheat sheet, and this has the hashtag on it as well as NRPA's social handles so that you can tweet along, get started right away. So let's go over what to share on social media. So, you have a lot of really great visuals at your disposal, so we just kind of want to go over those a little bit. So first of all, just photos from your everyday program activities. You might be surprised because these are things you see every day, but they're kind of interesting and unique to people outside of the field, people who don't see this stuff every day, other community members, even parents who are dropping kids off at your centers. They might be interested to see what you're doing. And I think it is really interesting. And of course, and I'm sure you guys know this already, but it always bears repeating that anytime you're posting pictures of kids, you need to make sure that you have a photo release form. So secondly, you have photos of either people using the Commit to Health resources or just the Commit to Health resources themselves, just to share your involvement in the campaign. And we will show some examples of that later on. But the fact that you've made this commitment to implement healthy eating and physical activity standards, it's unique. And, while obviously we want everyone eventually to be doing this, they're not. So the fact that you are doing it makes you unique. And so anytime that you post on social media something sharing these resources or showing how you're implementing healthy eating and physical activity standards, it's something that's not out there all the time. So it really is something unique that'll stand out. And this is just kind of like a personal example. I'm pretty close to this program. I've been working on this campaign since it started, and I've had a kid since then, and I took him to daycare, and I was surprised that they don't have healthy eating and physical activity standards. So it is a unique situation, and I just kudos to you guys for doing it. So just make sure you're flaunting that day in and day out. And then brag about your success, because again, you guys are doing great things and you're making these strides, and I know many of you are even sending in reports about what you do. So brag about it. You can still access our 3-year anniversary stats. So even if you're joining on to Commit to Health for the first year, certainly you're now part of the campaign and you're part of those numbers. So you can use those resources, and we have the URL here that you can go to find those resources, and we have a video and an infographic and some ideas for how to share those and tie yourself into that messaging. And if you're not the person who handles your social media accounts, pass this information on to those people, because we know that can sometimes be a stumbling block. You may not be the person who's tweeting every day. So, share a little bit about this campaign with them, pass on the cheat sheet, and that might make it easier to get the message out there to your community. So besides social media, because I know that not everyone does that or can do that, what are the other ways to market and really, build a little bit of a campaign around it? Email, that's pretty straightforward. One thing about email, you might have email newsletters that go out, or maybe your city or town does like a monthly newsletter. Reach out to those people, find out who they are, ask them if they can include something about your programs and your commitment in that email. If you manage your own email newsletters or accounts, I just always, again, as one of those safety things, preface, make sure that anyone you email, you have permission to email so that's not marked as spam. And of course, the local media. I know that many of you have great connections with your local media because, again, we track the Commit to Health campaign and I see it pop up in our media mentions, and it's wonderful. But use those connections that you have with your local media. Again, as you probably very well know, they're always looking to promote the summer programs, to promote out of school time activities. But when there's like this extra level to that you've committed to not only having these programs but making them healthy and getting kids healthy and active, like that's a great story, and the local media is going to want to know about that. So you could celebrate. Another thing too is tell them, okay, we have a milestone coming up, we have this great celebration happening, join us. Anything like that's great for the media. If you got a grant, that's a great opportunity too. They like to share that as well. And again, just things you do every day are interesting to them. So, we do have a question. So it says, may we use some of the funds for advertising? And yes, you can. You can use some of the funds for advertising. And I'm a big fan of social media advertising. So if anyone has any questions about that specifically, we could get into that. I think it's a really great way to target and make sure that it's staying in a local market. So back to the other ways to market. You can ask your partners to share. This is probably the easiest ask you can make. I'm sure many of you are working with partners day in and day out, either healthcare partners, health partners, schools, all of the above. Your parents, your volunteers, even teens, as long as you have parental permission that they can help you share the message, because we know that they're on social media all the time. So as long as you have parental permission for them to do that, you can ask them to share. And it's super easy. You're not even asking them to create new content. You're just saying, hey, I already put this out here. Can you hit the share button on Facebook, or can you repost my email? Can you take this little blurb and put it on your website too that promotes our programs? So that's a really easy ask to make, and it's a really great way to amplify your message. And another thing too that I don't have listed on the slide is that you can tie this to other initiatives. So, for example, many of you know that we have Park and Recreation Month in July. And if you're joining onto that campaign, great. I'm totally fine with you pushing those two hashtags together. Hashtag Commit to Health and hashtag, what is our hashtag?
Get your play on.
Get your play on. Well, it's Play on July. Hashtag Play on July for Park and Recreation Month. So, totally push those two campaigns together, tie it to another initiative. Again, it's all about, kind of building those little moments for the media or for social media to help share the message and make it stand out. So we'll talk about the Commit to Health resources, and I'm sure you all are very familiar with these already. But these are great things that you can share and use to provide regular content. The Foods of the Month curriculum already has posters, newsletters, and things like that you really don't have to do any work to share those. But you can take the poster and make it into an image and share that in a social post, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook. We have the Commit to Health research, we have videos, success stories, blogs, and then of course the Commit to Health newsletter that goes out monthly. Any of those pieces that already exist, we not only are okay with it, but we encourage you taking that information and sharing it to your audiences as well, especially if it's relevant for what you're doing. And now we're going to dive into some of those examples that we were talking about from other agencies. So you'll see that we have Kansas City Parks and Recreation. They were sharing the Foods of the Month posters with their social audiences. It's just a great way to highlight, some of the, things that are covering. I mean, something that again, parents are going to be interested in what you're doing, but also just the general community might be like, wow, that's really cool that they're involved in this program. We also have the Chicago Park District. They're sharing a photo of them learning about, making healthy parfaits during one of their programs. And then our very own South Burlington Recreation and Parks, who you've already seen today. We love how active they are on Twitter. And they're sharing, the lunch and snacks that they're providing and getting ready for Commit to Health for the summer. And then we also have, I believe this is Madison, yes, Recreation. And they're also talking about their involvement, about what they're offering. So all these are really great examples of how you can easily share what you're doing on Twitter. And these examples are specifically from Twitter just because the hashtag is easier to track. But obviously if you're on Facebook, Instagram, we've even done some Commit to Health stuff on Pinterest. If you're on Snapchat, I would love to hear about it and how you're using it. It's so fascinating. So you can apply these examples across the board. So I'm gonna turn it over to Katrina, who's going to talk a little bit about some tools that you can use in promoting this, because obviously there's okay, here's all the ideas, but then it's well, how can I execute this more quickly or more efficiently? Before I do that, I'm going to answer this question. So we have a question. Can you give us an idea of how much advertising costs on Facebook, Instagram, and what a good return is? So the good thing about Facebook is you can set the budget. It can be anything, anything from $25 to $50 to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And so it's really however much you pay is kind of how much you get. I've only one time seen where it's said that I had to pay a minimum amount for the audience I wanted to reach. And luckily, it just depends on how big the market is you're trying to reach. If you're only targeting a certain city or your own followers, for example, although I would suggest to help build some of your follower base too, would be to target maybe a larger area like your city or, I don't know, does it let you get into zip code?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so you can get pretty specific about where you want to target your ads, and so that way you get the most bang for your buck. A good return is going to be completely dependent on what you've done in the past and how you've set up your campaign. So sometimes you're paying per impression, and sometimes you're paying per conversion. And then sometimes with just a boosted post, which is the easiest thing to do, you're kind of paying for impression. So I would have to get back on that and get you a good number, but it really is dependent on your organization. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katrina, who will talk a little bit about some tools.
Thank you, Roxanne. Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. Today, I'm going to give you a few tips and some of our favorite tools that'll help make posting on social media a lot easier for you. One of the best ways to take your social media to the next level at this point is to add images. As technology and social media have kind of evolved and advanced, we've gone towards a more visual way of taking in our content. Gone are the days when we can get away with long-form Facebook posts that are paragraphs long. That's not how we digest content anymore, so now we need to step up our game and get more visual. Visual media is a lot more eye-catching. It makes it easier to digest a lot of information at a time as well. Think about when you're scrolling through your personal social media accounts, when you go through, what are the things that stand out to you? It's probably the GIFs, the videos, memes, things that catch your eye because of the colors or the bright graphics. The next time you catch yourself writing a long-winded post about anything, stop yourself and try to consider cramming that information into a graphic. And one of our favorite tools to do that is Canva, and you can see in the image that is an example of the Canva browser. This is a really cool graphic design tool that is set up for people with all sorts of background in design. You can either be a person who maybe studied design in school and use this tool, or you can be more of a novice. If you don't have any sort of knowledge of Photoshop or any of those programs, you can definitely use Canva. And I see a question about Canva. Is Canva free? Yes, there's a free version of Canva, which is what we use. But there's also obviously a paid subscription where you'll get a lot more features, but there's a lot that you can get out of their free account, which I'll go over a little bit. One of the biggest draws to Canva is that they have a huge, extensive library of all of their templates. There's a whole section dedicated to their social media templates that are already sized to the optimal graphic size for whatever platform you're on. So if you already have experience posting on social media, you kind of know that for a Facebook linked photo, you have to have a certain size image. If you're using something on Twitter, there's a specific image. If it's Instagram, you'll want that square photo. So this already has the templates built in that are to the size specifications that you want. Canva also makes it incredibly easy to personalize those templates using your own photos, logos, brand colors, basically whatever you can imagine. In our account that we personally use, we have most of our photos, the dozens of stock photography that I have uploaded in there when I've made graphics since we first started using Canva. And the cool thing about Canva is that it saves all of your uploads so you can refer back to them. And so it makes it really easy as you're creating graphics to just go to that side tab and just drag and drop into your graphic. A program like Canva makes it easy to get creative with your Commit to Health efforts and marketing those. You can make fun collages using photos of your different programming. You can convey important information or provide more details that you don't want to get into in text in your posts. And don't feel limited to social media. Canva has tons of different templates that you can use. If you're comfortable with it, explore some more of their design options. You can make a poster or even an infographic bragging about some of your own metrics. And as you're creating graphics, keep these tips in mind. Consider the platforms that your graphics will be viewed on. Most people are probably going to be looking at your graphics or any sort of social media feed on their mobile device. So when you're considering that, make sure your graphics are bold enough to stand out. Make sure your text is large enough so that when someone is scrolling through, they can read it really easily and they don't have to zoom in. Also think less is more. Keep your graphics clean and simple and limit the amount of text and images that you use in your post. If you're creating a collage of multiple images of your Commit to Health program, I would probably limit it to maybe 3 or 4 images, because consider every image that you add onto a collage, each of those images is getting smaller and smaller, making it harder for the person to see what's even in the image. So to keep your details, you want to make sure that you use a large photo. I would suggest that if you can, go ahead and just use one really good photo that you have, and you can make a series of different images using the same impact as the collage, but it'll also give you content that you can push out over the next couple weeks and months just based on those photos that you wanted to put in that one collage. And also, you don't want to clutter your image by adding too much text. Make sure you choose a font that is very legible when it's in small form, and make sure that it's large enough to read on a small scale. And when you're placing text on photos, you can see in the image that we have there, we kind of put a white box over the actual photo that we used, because it makes it easier for people to be able to read your content. I've found that a lot of people just like to place their text right on top of the photos and you can't read anything. So use overlays and play around with the design, and that's again why Canva is really cool, because they have so many cool templates that kind of give you design ideas and make it easy for you to create these designs. Another way to take your social media to the next level is by scheduling your content ahead of time. Scheduling your posts can help you save tons of time and avoid all of the manual labor and the stress behind manually posting your social images in your social feed. By creating a schedule and sticking to it, you can post consistently about Commit to Health with ease. If you have evergreen content, like say you did make that Canva image and it says a really cool I Heart Commit to Health post, or if you have a blog that you want to share multiple times throughout a given time period, this scheduling the posts will make it much easier so you don't have to constantly be on your social media posting things as they're popping up. Consistent posting will keep your community active and engaged with the wonderful things that you're doing with Commit to Health. You want to keep constantly reminding them of the great things you're doing, brag about yourself, show them the photos. And a really easy way to do that and kind of have it running in the background is by scheduling these posts. And there are many options for scheduling social posts, but two of the tools that we love to use is Hootsuite and TweetDeck. Both of these tools make it easy for you to not only schedule your social media, but monitor any sort of social media conversation, including your mentions or the Commit to Health hashtag. There are a couple differences between the two platforms, the biggest being that Hootsuite caters to a majority of the major players in social media, and TweetDeck is strictly for Twitter. One of my favorite things about Hootsuite is that they actually have a Hootsuite Hootlet plugin for your browser, and that makes it really cool. There's like a little owl icon that pops up on your browser, and when you're on whatever web page that you want to share, all you have to do is click the little owl on top of your screen. A little box will drop down with a pre-populated tweet, and you can either from there post it now or schedule it to go out. And this makes it super easy to post any sort of content. So you can go and post, if you see an article about Commit to Health, you can go ahead and just click that little button and share it yourself, and it makes it super easy. And one of the really cool things about TweetDeck that I love is the real-time social information that you're getting. Compared to TweetDeck, or compared to Hootsuite, Hootsuite gives you updates, but they're kind of static and you have to refresh your browser to get the updates. But if you have TweetDeck open, you can constantly see a stream of, if you have like Commit to Health tab, you can see as people are posting about Commit to Health. And from that browser, you can go ahead and reply, retweet, or share it yourself right in the browser, which is really cool. And both of these apps can be used for free. It's another one of those, of course you can use it for free, but if you pay, you're gonna get more features, but it's also, we use it for free, and we find that we get enough of the features out of it where it's beneficial to us without having to pay for it. And those are just a few of our favorite social media tools, and we hope you'll find them helpful and that you can use it in your commitment to health and marketing your programs. And if there are any more questions about our social tools, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, let us know. And I will kind of chime in on a couple things that Katrina talked about, which is the monitoring your account. And this goes a little bit beyond using it for Commit to Health specifically, but obviously like our Twitter handle is, NRPA_news. And if we were only following that, we wouldn't necessarily see when people just mention NRPA or if they spell out our entire name. So you can set those up as search terms in TweetDeck, and you could see those pop up. Sometimes it's really interesting what people are saying about you if they're not tagging you directly. And then secondly, related to going back a little bit to the images, it's just like a really great visual. And like she said, when you place kind of using that white box, I just wanted to reiterate that, 'cause that was a really good point about not dropping the text directly onto a picture so that it's easier to read. And I do see that there's a question here about using photo release forms, about whether it should be the municipality's photo release form or an NRPA one specifically. I believe your municipality form should be enough. I don't think you need to have an additional one, especially if it's just something, basically as long as your municipality form kind of includes that you'll be sharing it on social media or sharing it on the website, that should be fine. I don't think you need another one. Any more questions? Okay, well, we are available. Our email addresses, I believe, were shared earlier, so we welcome questions if any pop up later. And of course, you can tweet us or Instagram or Facebook. That's our cup of tea. We're always on there monitoring, so we welcome questions that way too. We really look forward to not only hearing what you have to say, but seeing what you have to say and then sharing it on our channel so we can broadcast and make the great work that you do go even further.